Today our guest is Doug Kerr. He is a licensed sales representative with United Healthcare Medicare Solutions, and Doug is one of their top agents here in San Diego and obviously in other parts of the country as well for United Healthcare. So welcome, Doug. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, appreciate it.
Doug, thank you for being here today. So this is a huge topic. We are in open enrollment season.
Open enrollment's coming up here.
So I'm sure there's like a top 20 list, but in the interest of time, what is the most common mistake that people make during open enrollment?
There's probably two that I'd bring up. First one is they open enrollment is October 15th to December 7th. So everybody says, oh, I got such a long time. I'll worry about it later.
I'll worry on December 7th.
Well, then they forget about that there's Thanksgiving in the middle, and then all of a sudden they're getting ready for holidays, and it's gone before they know it. And every year I get a phone call on December 8th. Oh, I was busy. Can you help me? Unfortunately, no. And it's too late. And then the other one is what I call the toaster effect. People will get into the mode of, oh, okay, we're going to compare plans. Oh, look, this one's $5 cheaper than the other one. Well, that's the one we should go with. And I tell people, don't look at plans and compare them like you're buying a toaster at Walmart or Target and trying to figure out where's it cheaper. I mean, you want to look at the big picture and make sure your doctor's in the network, make sure your drugs are covered, and make sure that the agent you're dealing with is reputable and good. So you want to look at the overall picture as you try to decide, do I want to do something or switch or change?
Do people actually try to do this themselves, or
Well, they do. They can go online and switch a plan or switch companies during open enrollment. I don't recommend that. I recommend that they use an agent. It doesn't cost them anything, and the agent knows the business and can make sure they're on the right plan. They may say, oh, I'm going to work with United Healthcare, great, but there's 4 plans in San Diego with United Healthcare, so which one is the right one? And again, that's where an agent's expertise would help them.
So if like the one question that you want people to ask you when they call you, let's say they're doing their homework, what would be like the one question that you want them to ask you first, or what you would ask them first, I guess is the...
Well, I want them to ask me, can you please educate me? I don't understand this. And I look at it as my job is to educate them and get them up to speed so they're comfortable making a very major decision. It's about their health care. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you're not buying a toaster. Mm-hmm. So
not to put down toasters.
No. Toasters are fine.
Do formularies and things for medications change throughout the year so that, say, what you sign up for during open enrollment might change like in March, and yet you can't make a change yourself? You have to wait for the open enrollment period. Does that happen, or do most of the changes happen during open enrollment?
Most of the changes are during open enrollment.
Okay. So everybody's on the same page.
It's very rare because there's contracts that are signed, and they're year-long contracts, and Medicare is pretty particular about keeping things the same. People made a decision based on this criteria, and they need to know that, okay, at least that's going to hold for a year.
Okay.
And then next year, if I find something I don't like, okay, well, next year I can change.
So does Medicare have to begin when I'm 65? Say I'm still working and I have health insurance through my employer. Do I still need to sign up when I'm 65 without being penalized for not doing so?
Right. I recommend that people, when they turn 65, sign up for the first part of Medicare, Medicare Part A. But if they're continuing to work, they don't need the second half of Medicare, which is Medicare Part B that covers the medical side. But I say that with a caveat, because work insurance may be fairly good, but people don't realize and dig into the details. For example, I did have a couple that we were talking, and he said, oh, I work for, I won't name the company, but we got great insurance. I'm turning 65, what do I do? Well, we compared their insurance plan with Medicare and the Medicare Advantage plans. And in their insurance plan, it said they covered 90% of the hospital expense. He said, that's pretty good. And I said, well, if you get a $300,000 hospital bill, which is very not common, not hard to do, that's $30,000 you're going to pay. And that got him thinking, because on the Medicare Advantage plans, there's very set limits, and you're financially protected. So long story short, they ended up switching to Medicare, went to the employer and said, okay, thanks, but no thanks. So you just want to check. And I've had a lot of people that I've said, stay on your plan. That's a good plan. The employer is paying for it.
Okay.
But you want to check those things
Make sure,
out.
just double check.
You double check, yeah, absolutely.
But just to clarify, if somebody is about to turn, my understanding is if you're about to turn 65, you still have to fill a form out or something.
You want to sign up for that first part, Medicare Part A, which is hospitalization.
Okay.
You delay the Part B, and then 3 years, 4 years down the road, when you retire or you lose your work insurance, then you turn on Part B. But one of the ways you do that is you get your employer to fill out a very specific form that says you had credible coverage. That way there's no fine for delaying the Part B. Because if you just on your own say, oh, I don't need Part B, I'm not going to see the doctor, there's a fairly hefty fine when you finally turn it on. So you always want to make sure you have credible health insurance.
Is that a fine you pay on a monthly basis, or how do you pay that fine?
The fine is 10% per year that you did not have Medicare Part B
Forever?
forever.
Ever.
Wow.
And right now, Medicare Part B costs $121.80. So the fine would be $12.
A month.
If you went 1 year without Part B,
Okay.
the fine would be $12.
Okay.
It would be a monthly fine. So it's $12 a month that you would pay forever, in addition to the $121.80 or whatever it may be a year from now.
Got it.
Okay,
Wow.
So if you have a life expectancy of 90,
it can add up. And
That's
Ron, good question, because also on the drug plan, if they don't have a drug plan when they turn 65, there's a fine for that when they finally do. And I've come across many seniors that are saying, I'm healthy, I don't take drugs, I'll get Medicare, but I don't need the drug plan. I'm not going to use the system. I won't, I don't want to burden the system. I don't take drugs. Well, 10 years down the road, that fine ends up being about $30 a month forever.
Wow.
So you just need to understand, and that's, again, I look at it as my job is to educate everybody. Here's all the rules, and here's how it works, and then you can make your decision on what you want to do.
so anybody who's just turned 64 and is in that 64 to 65 needs to talk to you.
They should talk to me.
Or something.
The rules are such that 3 months before your birthday month is when you can start the Medicare sign-up process. And Medicare will start on the first of the month of your birthday month. But you can do it if your birthday's in December, you count backwards, November, October, September. So as of September 1st, you could start the Medicare sign-up process. It won't start till December 1, but you can get it all done ahead of time. Pick a plan that you want to be on. And the reason I say to pick a plan, if you're only on Medicare itself, you've got some financial exposure. And I show that to people. And this is how Medicare works. And Medicare only does have some financial exposure.
So you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can
Absolutely
actually do it
not.
3 months before your 65th birthday. So that
Correct.
you're
Whenever
ready.
your birthday is, you can do the enrollment ahead of time, look at all the different available add-on plans to Medicare, make that decision. You'll end up with a card in your hand. You're ready to go on the first of your birthday month.
So just, again, clarification, because this is such a confusing topic. Patty and I get these questions all the time because we deal a lot with senior or people that are moving towards that. So if my birthday's in, let's say if my birthday were in June, it's not, but anyway, if it were in June, so March, April, May, or April, I could call you and say I need to get the paperwork flowing.
Let's get started.
Has nothing to do with open enrollment.
No.
Okay. Two separate issues.
Two separate issues. Now, if somebody is taking Social Security
Okay.
and they're approaching 65, they're going to be automatically signed up for Medicare. They don't actually need to do a thing. About 3 months before that birthday month, boom, they're going to get a Medicare card in the mail
Really?
automatically.
Well, what
if they're
about-
taking Social Security. If they're not, they need to do something. They need to.
Well, what about the prescription drug part? If they don't want to decline, I mean, what about all those issues about not getting penalized?
They're going to have to get a prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan or a supplemental plan. But to get the Medicare card is what I was talking about.
That's if you're on Social Security. If you haven't taken Social Security yet, though, you have to be the
You
one
have to
initiate it.
be proactive and initiate getting the Medicare card.
the bottom line is talk to somebody who knows all the ins and outs of this.
Because it's confusing.
So, I mean, there are many options and many plans, and I know this is a real open-ended question, but how does one choose the best what are you looking for in that person to help them choose their best option?
Again, recommend they use an agent, because a good agent will steer them to the right plan, or at least give them choices and say, what do you think's the best for you?
Do you have them provide like a list of their current needs?
Well, I will talk to them, and we'll talk about how many times do they see the doctor, how's their health, what's been the track record the last 2 years. They're making a decision, but I remind people that it's a 1-year decision, because
things change.
Things change, and you're going to hit open enrollment. If somebody's turning 65 in August, well, October that same year they hit open enrollment, they could switch. So they're only making a 6-month decision. So I will just sort of interview the people and understand some of their health concerns. We look at their drugs, make sure that their drugs are covered on any of the plans that they might be interested in. That's very key. Is your doctor take the insurance? That's very important. I've had people come to me, they got all enamored because they went to some seminar and they signed up for something. Oh, this sounds great. Well, it turns out their doctor doesn't even take the plan. And once you're in the plan, you're in it. I mean, when open enrollment ends and you signed up, there's a little disenrollment period in January to middle of February where you can back out to basic Medicare, but once you're past that, you're in it for the year. So
what happens if I sign up and before open enrollment, I have a cardiac event? So my health changes, my medication changes. Mm-hmm. I still have to stay on that plan until open enrollment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But open enrollment, you can change it.
Got it. Okay.
Or one of the questions we get is, let's assume open enrollment, October 15th, so October 16th, you went to a seminar, you signed up for a plan, and then the more you thought about it, it's like, I shouldn't have done that. I'd rather have this plan. Well, the rules are last application in wins. So if you want to change your mind during open enrollment, you can. You just do another application.
Okay.
Even if it's with another company. Last one in wins.
Got it.
And just to bring it all home before Patty has a question, does the Affordable Care Act in any way impact all this, or is it a totally separate issue?
It's a separate issue. The one impact is the money that Medicare pays the private companies for each member. Because when someone signs up for one of these Advantage plans, which are very inexpensive because they are sponsored by the government, in my case, United Healthcare takes over responsibility for the cost of health care. So they get money from the government every month for each client. Mm-hmm. Well, that money has been affected a little bit by the ACA, Affordable Care Act. It's gone down a little bit. But that's the only effect. From a client's viewpoint, they really haven't seen any changes. It's almost two separate worlds.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Okay, so now we're in open enrollment for 2016. What changes are you seeing this year from last year?
Well, the deductibles for the hospital stay Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B, they have not come out yet, or at least as we're taping this interview. But one of the major changes 2017 for Medicare is the Part D drug plans, how they're going to work, in that they've upped the allowance that you get before you fall into the famous donut hole. So that's a real good thing. It takes longer to hit the donut hole in 2017. Once you're in this donut hole, and the seniors that are on Medicare understand what I'm talking about, they've lowered the cost of the drugs. For 2016, if you were in the donut hole, you had to pay 45% for a branded drug. Well, they've dropped it to 40%. You had to pay 58% for a generic drug. Well, they've dropped it to 51%. So those are good things. The government has come out and said by the year 2020, they will get that branded drug expense down to 25%.
Wow.
So they're making the drug plans better. The federal numbers are coming down. But I suspect the deductibles for Medicare Part A and Part B are going to go up a little bit. But we'll
To
know,
make up the difference.
to make, they might, yeah. And we'll know, normally it's about mid-November we hear what the numbers are.
And can you explain briefly the donut hole? I know
Sure.
what that is, but I'm not sure everybody does.
Everybody gets an allowance. And again, it's a federal number, whether it's United Healthcare or any other company, they're all the same. You get this allowance. When you go buy your drug at the drugstore, if you picture an imaginary bucket, when you spend your money for the drug, that money goes in the bucket. So next month you go and buy that same drug, you spend the money again, money goes in the bucket. So the bucket's slowly filling up. If you had a branded drug that maybe on the plan says it costs you $47, but the drug's actually cost is $200. Well, you pay your $47, that goes in the bucket. But guess what? The pharmacy wants its $200. So someone's got to pay $153. Well, it's us, the insurance company.
Oh, insurance company.
Yeah, the insurance company, United Healthcare. So your 47 goes in the bucket, our 153 goes in the bucket. So if that allowance, that bucket fills up, then the allowance is $3,700 for 2017. So between the client and their insurance company, if they spend $3,700, they spill into the donut hole. And then you're in the donut hole until you hit $49.50, which is called out-of-pocket money. It's your money that you spent. Then you get into catastrophic coverage, and the price goes way down.
Okay.
So,
all I can say is, do not try to do this on your own. And please
confusing.
call Doug. And I keep thinking the donut hole, and of course, donut hole makes me think of VG Donuts,
VG Donuts.
in Cardiff by the Sea. So another plug for VG, who happens to be my dog's name is VG.
Oh, okay.
So I always think donut hole, I go right to there. But anyway, Doug, it's again Medicare and Medicare policies and Social Security are the two topics that are so complex that if anybody tries to understand them on their own, they're, I would say, foolish to even try to do this. So please call Doug, or if you have any questions. And again, can you work anywhere in the country, or do you have to?
I have a California insurance license, so I
California.
can work anywhere in California.
Anywhere in California. So it's been great to have you here. Again, it's so overwhelming, and you need to talk to. What would be the initial time that somebody should allow for a consultation with you?
If we talk over the phone, probably about 25 minutes.
Okay. That's well worth the time to get an understanding of what.
I'd be happy to ask the questions and even make sure they're on the right plan. If they have a United Healthcare plan, they can call me and we can talk it through and make sure they're on the right plan.
Well, thank you for being here today. It's a wealth of information for a very complex subject that people really need to understand, because they can make huge mistakes, and that are costly mistakes to their future.
Yes.
So stay tuned for more Senior Stay or Go TV.